Hello everyone, welcome back. Picking up right where we left off the last time, let's delve into India's NDC targets and their implications. As we already discussed, NDC targets are voluntarily fixed by countries. India had already established its targets in 2015, but since we were on a fast track to achieving them, India renewed its targets in 2022. In a world trying to grapple with post-pandemic slowdown and supply chain disruptions, India's renewed commitment to climate change goals highlights how sincerely we are trying to tackle with climate change and climate resilience at large. But the picture is not all black or white. Let's try to understand the grey areas of this equation. The first amongst India's updated targets is reduced emission intensity. India aims to reduce the emission intensity of its GDP by 45% by 2030. This means reducing the amount of emission produced per unit of economic output. Any discussion on the emission intensity is incomplete if we don't look at where exactly is this emission coming from. Since much of the GHG emission is attributed to fossil fuel-based energy, hence the strong push towards renewable energy sector in India and across the globe. But owing to the unpredictable nature of renewable energy at large, it will be difficult to abandon the construct of fossil fuel-based energy altogether in the small or longer run. The second amongst India's NDC targets is increased renewable energy generation. India has committed to achieving about 50% of its electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel sources by 2030. This signifies a significant increase in renewable energy sources like solar, wind power, and so on. India currently has 41% share of clean power in terms of capacity. With more and more states promoting open access power market, this number is expected to increase leaps and bounds. Further, owing to the economics of renewable energy, as discussed in one of the older videos, more and more commercial and industrial players are also opting for renewable energy. The third and the most important amongst India's NDC targets is enhanced carbon sink. India plans to create an additional carbon sink of about 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent through increased forest and tree cover by 2030. This is supposed to increase India's contribution to carbon dioxide sequestration from the atmosphere. Now, this is the trickiest of the bunch to deal with. For a developing country like India, infrastructural development is tantamount to the aspirations of a higher standards of living of the population at large. In this phase of development, creating a carbon sink is a tightrope to walk. The most underdeveloped parts of the country are the ones with remote and difficult terrain. Now, to develop the same, ecological destruction will be localized to such regions. The idea is to balance out deforestation with equivalent amount of afforestation. Our regulatory framework specifies that if a project development has led to certain amount of deforestation, the developer must pay in cash to the local authorities and they will then undertake afforestation activity in another part of the state to offset the deforestation activities. But the question is, can we establish the equivalence of deforestation to afforestation just so easily? Let's assume a project led to distress in mangrove ecosystem, which is one of the greatest carbon sinks in the ecosystem today. But to offset this distress, authorities choose to develop an urban forest in the plains. So is the mangrove equivalent to the urban forest? Do you think this form of offset establishes a healthy ecosystem balance? Much of the endangerment of flora and fauna in our ecosystem today is attributed to fragmented nature of forest ecosystems. I guess what I'm trying to say is, can a 100-hectare forest be the equivalent of 100 forests of 1 hectare each? I am not merely trying to imply the right or wrongs of the equation. All I am trying to do is invoke a thought and expression along these lines. For today, I'd like to leave you with that thought. And as you might already know, my name is Himani and this video is powered by GH2 Solar. See you again. Until then, take care. Goodbye.